Begin. My name is Ray Cool. I want to welcome everybody to today's security training webinar describing some critical reasons why security training has become more and more important, and we're going to go through a summary of some security training issues and a program created by KnowBe4, a fantastic content creator of security training materials. We're going to move really quickly. I want to tell you that this is not a sales presentation. The intent of this webinar is to inform about security training issues and provide options that may be of use to many clients. So for many of you, this is your first exposure to PBSI. Thank you for joining us today. Many of you, thank you very much, have been clients for years and years, in some cases decades. Thank you very much for your long-term support. So our content today, we're going to talk about key reasons why security training has become critically important, especially recently. What are the elements of security training, both one-time and ongoing? We're going to overview the ongoing training program provided by KnowBe4, where PBSI provides training and setup and services, where this is a really excellent training program that we've become aware of, and you'll see how this works and why it's useful. So we'll demonstrate how that works, how we've seen it impact employee behavior, and how we can make this simple. So employee training is critical. Thanks for joining. So for those of you not familiar with PBSI, we provide technology and security services for healthcare and other business and nonprofit clients in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. Lots of experienced staff. We've been in the security business for many, many years, and recently the importance of this has really become more and more evident. KnowBe4, the content creator for the ongoing security awareness training program, is not only the world's leading security awareness firm, they've proven to be really excellent in providing current, relevant content. You'll see some examples that within a day or two of activities taking place that might garner attention, they've created training materials for publication to all of their clients. So we'll show you how that works and how PBSI and KnowBe4 fit together. So those of you in attendance, you're the, quote, smart ones. You know that this is important. There's some areas where all of us need to learn. So I'm speaking to the choir here, but we all have understood the internet is a very dangerous place today, and ransomware is a key component. So I'm not going to spend much time with this topic, but the idea of ransomware, it's a form of malware that's delivered almost always by an email, where you're either clicking on a link or an attachment to an email, or in some cases you're clicking on a website you visited, but the result is catastrophic unless you've made appropriate protections. It encrypts all the data on your C drive, it encrypts all the data on drives to which you're connected within the organization, and by web, OneDrive and Google Drive and so forth, can be very, very difficult. So that's one of the areas that we're trying to protect against. And so the traditional measures that we've all put in place, and if you haven't put some of these in place, we should talk firewall, antivirus, auto patch updates for all of your Windows software on each of your PCs and servers. These are blocking and tackling that everyone should have in place. We've employed, many of us, the latest technologies in online monitoring and data breach scanning. These are areas where PBSI provides services that are cost effective and important. Today, though, we want to talk about employee education, because the fact is most security breaches, in some cases I've seen 80-some% of security breaches, are caused, in spite of all the right protections being in place, they're caused by employees who click in the wrong place. So education is really the missing ingredient for most of us. So what are the key areas of risk today? Ransomware, I believe, is quite commonly understood. The most recent WannaCrypt attack that influenced 150 countries was ransomware. It's one of many, many variations, and it was executed worldwide on what's approximated to be 2 million PCs, all because somebody in that organization clicked on an email, and the patches that should be updated on a daily basis in those organizations hadn't been, but the ransomware was executed by a click. Phishing emails This is the delivery mechanism for most ransomware and malware. CEO fraud and spear phishing, we've seen increasing attacks among clients, and in the press we see this all the time where someone has got a hold of the upper level management's email address and some other employees in an organization's email address, and they have very clever attacks that cause wire transfers, and we've seen this actually cause funds transfers to take place, and it's not just large organizations. So the cleverness behind these are frightening. Phone scams, we're seeing more and more of this. Some of you may have received a phone call, that's what's called phishing, where today many of us have our phone directories of our employees published via our phone system, where somebody can get into our phone system and get the names and extensions of employees, and not just in that manner, but the result of this is that a phone call being issued or being made to people within an organization can be very persuasive and convincing, and so training as to what to do and how to recognize these are key things. So the Internet of Things, if you pay attention to technology press, you've seen refrigerators, copiers, printage, postage equipment, lab test equipment, all kinds of things today are connected to the Internet, and the rigor of prevention and antivirus on some of these devices is not nearly what it is on some of our PCs, and so it's an in that causes network violation in ways that we don't necessarily expect. Unprotected web services. When employees create websites or maintain websites, or we have shared Google Drives or OneDrive sites where we're sharing, these frequently are outside the domain of IT, and sometimes the handling of these sites and the security of access causes breakdowns in security that are just unexpected. So one of the things I'm going to show you first is a very, very frightening thing that we have risk from already exposed passwords. So I'm going to now demonstrate something that, if you're like me, you may consider this to be really frightening. I have to sign again because the website I'm going to now, PBSI subscribes to this website so we can offer services to clients, and I need to get a two-factor authentication code that is updated every couple of minutes, and I'm going to log in here. And with access to this site, I'm going to do something that is very frightening. I'm going to look at all of the previously exposed passwords at pbsinet.com. So what I'm going to do now can be done for your domain at my practice name or my company name.com. And here's what it shows. On this date and on this date and on this date, these are all very real employees. This is information that is accessing the dark web. You can't find this information publicly, and this identifies whose password was exposed, what is the password that was exposed, and in some cases the password was encrypted, and so it wasn't exposed. So I'm going to copy this encrypted password, and I'm going to go to another place where I've done a couple of these already, and we're going to try and decrypt the passwords that aren't already decrypted. So what are you looking at? You're looking at the fact that PBSI employees in every case were subject to ID theft in one form or another. So the source, in this case, ID theft forum, this one was from a web page, this one was from social media, so apparently somebody had gone on Facebook or something. This one says a result of a breach. This one says it was keylogged and phished, so that's me. I don't know when, years ago, I certainly hope and expect, but I remember in years past being unaware and keying in password to get to something that turned out not to be legitimate. Well, these past thefts, they were stolen and retained who knows how many years ago and only published. So this was published in August of last year. This was published in April of this year. This person hasn't been an employee at PBSI for several years, but it was still just recently published because somebody owned this data and now they've made it available on this hacker forum for somebody to buy this information. And these passwords that are exposed are real passwords. They were used. Now, they've all been changed, but this was a very frightening thing for us to see at first, and we now can do this for every customer. So now you can see that you have passwords out there, and I'm not going to do any other customer's website, but trust me, if you'd like us to do this for you, let me know. We can frighten you by showing you what's really out there. But now I'm going to go to this other website called CrackStation. This is just a demonstration. I'm going to have to key in my security information here, and it's going to now go and attempt to decrypt even the encrypted passwords. And 2 out of the 3 where we found an encrypted password, it was able to decrypt and found useful passwords. So about 50% of the time, these published, even encrypted passwords can be decrypted. So what's the bottom line to this? I'm not going to spend any more time here, but the bottom line is data for many, many of us has already been exposed. It's very frightening. So one thing that you can take away from this webinar, if you'd like to contact us, we can do a search like this for you and identify what passwords may have been compromised so you know what passwords to change, because anybody who sees this immediately changes the passwords that they are uncertain about. So this is a list of areas where there's real risk out there, and the only prevention is training. So I want to make a point about those exposed passwords. They were not exposed because of the lack of security in place at PBSI, and they're not exposed at any organization because of the lack of a firewall, or typically it's not because you haven't done something right security-wise, it's because employees made a click mistake. Untrained employees are the risk point for all of our organizations. Hence, training is really important. So I'm going to quickly go through some of the training vehicles that we provide at PBSI, and I'm not going to spend time here. The purpose of this webinar is not to go through all of this content, but there are really 2 training vehicles that we've worked really hard to make available. And one is we do one-time security training for clients, which we can do by web or we can do in person. And the kind of content that we teach: no unapproved downloads, no web links, secure my workspace, what policies do we need to adhere to, what need to be our behavior to external communication, and then more importantly than that, what are the things we need to learn about email safety? So some key things which I will talk about now, although I'm not going to, again, cover all of this content. We want to talk about, so everybody understands the important difference between receiving email that is unsolicited versus solicited. Solicited email, I'm expecting it, I requested it, I asked for a quote, I'm receiving a quote, that's solicited. Unsolicited, even if I trust the sender. So if Ray at PBSI sends you an email and you didn't expect it, that's unsolicited. So you need to look at that with a different view than if you had requested it. And this is true for employees within your organization. This is really important to understand, is that the theft of one ID, or the understanding of who the CEO or the executive is in your organization, can result in emails to others in the organization that appear that they are coming from a trusted source. So when unsolicited, which is the majority of emails we receive, there's a protocol that we need to go through. We can hover over the email address, we can look at the time of day it was sent to me, who else received the email, was there brief content, is there anything out of character? Why would this person send this email to me? So key thing here is antenna up, antenna up. Always have antenna up. Anything seem amiss? If anything seems amiss, stop. Do I need to click on this now? Misspellings, grammar mistakes, unusual phrasing, unusual colors, formatting, font variations. So the WannaCrypt violation that took place just a week and a half ago now, the ransom notice was created in 23 languages. I read some analysis of this that says only 1 language was the ransom notice in perfect grammatically, and that was in Russian. So I've not seen anything that anybody really believes that it was originated in Russia. More speculation is on North Korea, but the fact is, you look for grammatical things in an incoming email, and if anything seems out of line, then think twice. Social media, Facebook and other social media sites are rife with phishing scams. You cannot trust your friend to be security conscious, and even if they are, there are ads and so forth on Facebook and other sites where you click the wrong thing because it looks interesting, and all of a sudden you've been fooled. Things that seem too good to be true. There are other things to look at, but basically the important thing is training for employees is really important, and there's some things that we can make sure employees look at. So a comment about this training. We offer this by web. We offer really inexpensively, and we'll send a link to a webinar for free to a client who's a security client. But the best way to train employees as a starting point is in person. We found this, that you have somebody watch a video, and if they're going to do it on their own, very, very low compliance. We send an email with a list of things to pay attention to, very, very low understanding. Everybody's too busy. We don't really look at it. Get us together in person, however, with somebody where, kind of as I'm speaking to you, but if we were in person in a room, the attention of staff tends to be at a different level. So, and we go through different kinds of spoofs and hacks, and these are all just examples. IRS PIN numbers, your account needs renewal, or resumes attached. There are so many very cleverly disguised, increasingly cleverly disguised emails. And when we do training, we go through examples of what they might look like from FedEx or UPS or whatever. One other thing I'll mention, and then we're going to move on and we're going to talk about ongoing training. The use of public Wi-Fi is a really, really significant issue. So you may know that the availability of, quote, Trump Wi-Fi ended up scamming 1,000 attendees at both Republican and Democratic national conventions because they presumed that something with this name was safe and protected, and our lawmakers, a lot of them got hacked. So I use a product called Dashlane to stay safe on public internet. So I'm not recommending Dashlane necessarily. I pay $39 a year for it. I started using Dashlane the day I read an article from a security tech writer, and that article started off something like this. The writer said, "Today I started using Dashlane." Okay, so what's this about? And she went on to tell the story. She was on an airplane and got off the airplane. Somebody tapped her on the shoulder on the way out and said, "You're a security tech writer, aren't you?" And she said, "How did you know that?" He said, "I was watching everything you were typing on the airplane." So airplane wireless is not secure, as most airports and Starbucks and so many examples of public Wi-Fi. You have no idea who might be paying attention. You cannot log into anything that requires passwords when you're on public Wi-Fi. So Dashlane allows me to store my passwords, and whenever I log into Dashlane, then I can go on any website and it creates an encrypted tunnel and it's safe and it remembers my password. So I'm not saying that's the only product, but the point here is stay away from public Wi-Fi because it's a really bad source of password stealing. So our security administrator at PBSI uses another product called Pass32. This is an encrypted storage for passwords that's free, but it has the ability at least for you to store all your passwords that you use and not expose them to the outside world. So there are tools like this that are available. The key is pay attention, and it's education like this that really needs to be in the hands of every employee because it's our weakest link. The person who's least trained, and we think, well, they don't even use a computer, they may be the most at-risk people. Okay, so what's the history been of security training? So we started with employee handbooks. We moved on in some cases to in a break room, we'll get together, we'll go through a PowerPoint, and we'll watch a video together. And some of these can be very effective. As I said, in-person training in a break room with employees live tends to be very effective, but it's one time. The monthly security video, or we've begun now, and this is a part of the KnowBe4 campaign, we do phish testing. So when this happens, we learn a lot about an organization and who might be easily foolable. So these are the things that have been tried, but when you boil it all together, what we've created is peasants with brooms sent to fight tanks. We have enemies out there who are very persistent, and they're very bright, and they're very intentional, and we need to train the Army. So I'm not trying to create fear, I'm simply speaking what I believe to be true. And the idea of creating a human firewall, the best practices involve regular training, ongoing training, mixing various techniques, and I'm going to go through briefly how that works. So KnowBe4 is a security content vendor. So they start with a minimum of 25 seats. You can sign up directly with KnowBe4, but they won't provide content to smaller organizations without it being very expensive. So clients of PBSI, we can set up clients of any size. You pay the same amount as you do to KnowBe4 directly, but you have somebody on your behalf at PBSI who's doing the setup and analysis and recommendations, and we're a resource to help you really utilize these programs. So the first thing with the KnowBe4 training is we do a baseline test. So we don't want to communicate to employees in advance. We do an initial simulated phishing test for all employees, and you can choose some of the content. I'm going to show you what this looks like in just a moment here. Then we begin an ongoing campaign of some combination of phishing emails, training emails with security tips, training videos, which are short, testing with interactive exercises, and latest threat emails. This is really important. KnowBe4 creates this content really regularly. I would bet I could go on KnowBe4 and look for things they've created, and I'd find dozens of emails they created this week. So, and those emails would be either for sending to employees as here's information about latest threats, or here's a scam that we're going to use as a phishing email. So it's the currency of the information that's one of the most useful things about KnowBe4. So then after that, we want to fish employees irregularly. So they don't expect it every Monday or even every month. And we don't issue a campaign that goes to everybody on the same day. We send a campaign of phish emails to employees where some might get it on Monday, some might get it on Friday, and so forth. So they get it over a period of time that we define so that they can't ask their neighbor, did you see that? And what happens with a phish, the way we set up any given email is we start with an email template, and we include a landing page. You'll see what this means in a moment. A landing page is if I make the wrong click, where does it send me? A fake scary warning, a tip sheet that says, oh, you made a mistake, here's some information you should know, or a video that says you've clicked on the wrong link, so your manager says you have to watch this video. So then what happens is the reporting is ongoing about each campaign, each user, and we're trying to accumulate information, not to fire people or to criticize people, but to understand who continues to need training. And what happens is everybody has their heads up, and that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to, wrong word possibly, but frighten people into caution. And also, when you've started a program like this, it's great documentation for any auditor, PCI, HIPAA auditor that comes around, and you show that you've gone to this length. You've gone far beyond what most organizations have to date, all more and more doing this. So now I'm going to show you what does this campaign look like. So I'm going to go to a website, not the dark web. So this is PBSI's dashboard. We execute KnowBe4 for our own employees. And so I can see some high-level information, each campaign and some results, and I have information about who's turned out to be clickers in which campaign. But I'm going to drill into phishing. So I have phishing, training, vishing, that's voice, and other tests, information about users. So under phishing, I can see all the campaigns that we've done at PBSI, and I'm going to look at a campaign individually, and I'm going to start with the most recent. We just did one very recently that was well done, and here's the campaign. And I'm really happy to see that of the recipients, there were no failures. If I look at the list of employees, it was delivered to everyone, and only a small number opened, but honestly opening. So I have auto view set on my Outlook. So opening doesn't mean anything bad was done. It simply means that the email was seen. What you don't want to see are clicks, replies, attachment opens, and other things. So if we want to see what this email looked like, we can see what was this campaign. So it said, hi, first name, your account was recently logged. So this is an example of something that's very brief. Facebook, was this you? I remember getting this and seeing, this from Romania, gee, was this really a bad email or what is it? Well, it turned out to be an unannounced phish attempt. So the good news is nobody was fooled. But let's go back to one of the first campaigns that we ran at PBSI. And some of this was intentional, I admit, but we had some clickers on this email, and then those people get categorized as clickers. So, and again, some of these were by intention. We wanted to have something to demonstrate, but also actually get evidence of what happens when somebody's categorized in that way, and then we can customize campaigns different for the folks who clicked. So you would expect that a company that presents as a security company at PBSI that we'd have really good results, and we have over time. We've seen different results at different clients, but the important thing is that once we start the process and folks start getting some training and some testing, the results start really getting clean, and what we're preparing for them for, of course, is the event where it's really a bad guy and it's not a training exercise. So phishing campaigns are composed of emails and landing pages. So each email that goes out, I can see the templates that we've used at PBSI, and so here's one I want to identify because it's really a good one. I remember seeing this email at PBSI, and this is what this email says. So it's well done, it's graphic. So KnowBe4 created this, and our security administrator at PBSI sent this to all employees, and it was breaking news. On the day that the United Airlines passenger was pulled off the flight, it says that the CEO resigns. Well, in fact, this never happened. He didn't resign. This was a fake email. So you can imagine I get this email and I think, that's really interesting. But with my training, I knew, okay, I can't click on this. So a principle here, don't get your news from your email. It's one of the things we teach all the time. Don't get your news from your email. You see something interesting, if you want to go to your news source and go to USA or whatever and look, then have that. But do not click on an email related to news events because they're commonly used as phishing exercise. So if somebody had clicked on this, watched the announcement on Fox News, they would have gotten a landing page. So this landing page is a short training one-page. Rule number 1, stop, look, think. Rule number 2, do I spot a red flag, and so forth. So I'm going to identify here just real quickly some of the templates that are available. So whenever we want to do a campaign, we can choose from categories. Like if I wanted to do things related to IT, I might, here's one that says Microsoft mail, your inbox is full, or here's one that says this is security update. If I want to see what that email template looks like, I can see that. And if I want to see what happens if I click on this, it would send me to a landing page. So different email templates, some of them are graphic, some of them are simple, but they're all intended to be, to fool folks who receive it into clicking. So you choose from these templates, put them into your campaigns. Then you choose from among landing pages. So what happens if somebody clicks on the link? So these landing pages, again, can be in categories, and they might be very simple, like this one, where if you click, all it does is say, not found. So the result of this is the clicker doesn't know they've been scammed. They think, oops, bad web page, and they go on to something else. But in fact, they have clicked the wrong thing, and that's been recorded. So another example down here of an email. This one, they get a landing page. I'm sorry, they get some information, but they also get, specific to the email they just received, the things about that email that they could have seen had they been paying attention, that the email address wasn't the purported email address, and the change password, they could have hovered over this link to see what the link really was. And so we combine information and training, and then some of these landing pages are videos. So if I wanted a video, not sure which ones of these, anyway, you can look at these, and here's one that's a video, and you'll hear this over my speaker. This is the training video that's 3 minutes, and okay, I might not like that video, but the point is different landing pages produce different results. So setting up a campaign is deciding how many emails of which type over what period of time, and what do we want the email template to be, and what landing page do we want to be, and then we can create reports that give us the results. So that's a phishing campaign and how it be set up. So training is very similar. We've run training campaigns, and some of these are emails with information in the emails about education, and some of them include tests. So now that you've read this information, go and answer these 6 questions, and you get rated, and we know which folks have passed and which have failed. So training campaigns, again, you have notification templates to choose from, start a campaign, have an email that goes out that says you haven't started this yet, reminder that says you haven't completed this yet, and you can track who has or has not started their course, who started, who hasn't started, and so forth. So you choose the email for phishing and a landing page for phishing. You choose the email for training and the, not landing pages, but content of training. So then if you want to report later on, you can go to any employee and you can see their history and you can see whether they've made progress or not and what group they're in. So I'm not going to go further into this now. I just want to identify that the beauty of this is it's very easy to set up, and the training is really, really excellent. So templates, landing pages, and reporting. So moving on, we're almost finished. We'll be finished well before 1 o'clock. The point is that security awareness training produces results. Train one time, that's really important. Do in-person training with your staff. People will learn something and they'll be aware, but do this on more than one occasion and have people know that they're being tracked and paid attention to. Their awareness level goes really up, and so the information that KnowBe4 cites is that over a period of campaigns, the level of click-prone staff goes way down and stays down. So this is quite inexpensive to set up. You spend $3 a month per employee to have this ongoing training take place, and then there are other choices you have as far as setup. So all PBSI clients have access to unlimited content of phishing tests, hints and tips, which we also organize for clients, and we'll send these to your employees on a schedule that you decide. Awareness training, automated campaigns. You actually get a crypto ransom guarantee. KnowBe4 guarantees anybody who's undergone KnowBe4 training for at least 3 months, I believe it is, they'll guarantee that you do not have any expense if you are, if an employee has gone through training, is victim to ransomware. So phish alerts, all training modules, phishing modules, automated penetration testing, some other things that are kind of interesting that you can do, leaving a USB in your parking lot, which should be, somebody should know not to pick that up and put it into the computer, but if they do, it's recognized that this happened, the user is logged, and training information sent that says, you know, you can't do this with a USB drive. You can't trust any USB drive you find. So what are the benefits? Low cost. So we've arranged making this simple for clients with ongoing training. You have somebody who's paying attention to help consultants set up and oversee. And there's a results portal where you can look anytime and see the status of your employees. So even small organizations, as few as 5 users, can sign up for KnowBe4. So in summary, we're finished with content. I want to identify, all of you will get this KnowBe4 document called Security Awareness Effectiveness Report, How to Create a Human Firewall, and it will be a summary of some of the information we've talked about today. Each of you will get an email and follow-up, so you can request follow-up or not. Our goal today, again, was to inform, and hope you find this really useful. So I know we've had some questions come up during the course, and I'm going to stop here in a moment and answer questions. But I want to say, if you would like to engage PBSI, many of you already do for many of these services, obviously feel free to ask us about these. We do quotes for free. We do analysis work for free to help identify if you should be candidates and what the cost would be for any of these services. And so I'm going to stop for questions, but I want to say thank you for your attendance. You're welcome to log